For those of you who have played every space or sci-fi game under the sun, or you're just not impressed with the latest AAA titles, well, this video is for you, as coming up I'll be sharing 18 space and sci-fi hidden gems from the last 10 or so years that may have gone under your radar. Sure, they won't have the best graphics and they might have one or two bugs, but there's still a lot of fun to play. From space sims to 4X, from survival to real-time strategy, there's something here for everyone, as well as some honorable mentions at the end that you definitely don't want to miss. Also, just a quick heads up, this is my third installment of this hidden gem series, so you maybe want to go check out those afterwards in case you think I've left any out. But let's get started. So coming up first on the list is Annihilate The Spance. This indie RTS launched in early access this year, and it drops you into a zone called the Spance, this mysterious nebula-like region of the cosmos packed with space junk and intergalactic warfare. In the game, you build shipyards and production platforms, mine resources, and churn out fleets of starships, from small drones up to massive capital vessels, and then send them out into these automated, multi-layered space battles where you don't have to micromanage every unit, but you do have to set priorities, waypoints, and fleet composition. The battles are pretty epic, like they take place in this full 3D environment, so like units can fly up and down, which is pretty cool. Plus the game has this constant production mechanic along with autonomous ships, a bit like an auto battler in a way, so there's minimal micromanagement, but still a lot of fun. It's a unique game for sure, coming from this small indie team, so yes, it is missing some quality of life features, but it's still in early access for now, and updates are coming along nicely. So if you're into base building RTS titles but wanted a more hands-off approach, well then Annihilate The Spance might just be for you. Also, if you do find any games here that you enjoy the look of, maybe drop a like or maybe even subscribe to help find more games to get lost in. But let's carry on. Then coming up next on the list is Astrometica, which came out in 2024 and where many people were like, hey, isn't this just Subnautica in space? Well, yes, but also no. In Astrometica, you wake up in the void after a catastrophic explosion at a mining station, adrift in an emergency pod surrounded by drifting wreckage and asteroids. The goal here is to survive and explore, so you'll mine resources, gather rare materials, craft tools and vehicles, build these pretty cool looking modular bases, and you're going to be doing this all while uncovering mysterious signals and fragments of what happened here. So yes, it does share similarities with other survival crafting games out there, but it still offers a lot of cool mechanics on the table to help keep things interesting. Now, I played it when it first came out, and I always got this huge sense of awe every time I left my little space pod. And since then, the devs have been churning out further updates, with more coming soon, including the ability to build modular ships, which is pretty damn cool. So sure, it's still in early access, so it's not as polished as the other great games out there, and yes, it's only single player, which kinda sucks. But hey, if you're looking for a space survival game to get lost in, well, this little hidden gem might just be for you. So coming up next on the list is Xenopurge, or Xenopurge, which isn't technically in space, but it sure has that sci-fi element to it, which is really good. In this indie tactical gem, you play as the commander of Mace, Mercer's Advanced Combat Enterprises, watching the mission unfold from a retro-futuristic command center, so not actually on the battlefield yourself. You'll deploy squads into alien-infested zones, gear them up, issue high-level commands, and monitor their progress on multiple screens. So yeah, it's like a semi-auto battler, if that makes sense. Like, sure, you're gonna issue orders, but then there's this intense panic at times that you can only see these little dots, but the sounds and the screams from your crew mean not everything is going according to plan. Sure, the graphics are about as basic as you can get, but what it lacks in visuals, it sure makes up for in the immersion and gripping atmosphere. Like, you'll be shouting at your buddies, like watching people die in horror films, except now if they get injured or taken by the xenomorphs, well, it's all on you. If you've ever played Alien Isolation, yeah, it's a bit like that, but now you're the coach of this team. Sure, Xenopurge might not appeal to some, but trust me, play it for a while and it'll give you some gripping, intense action that's hard to find these days. Then coming up next on the list is AI War 2, which isn't your typical grand strategy or RTS, but rather a hybrid of the two, with your job trying to take out this enemy AI. There is just one small problem. Instead of starting on a similar playing field, well, AI has wiped out humanity, like literally wiped the floor with it. This is also just a quick reminder to say thank you to ChatGPT. In the game, you're still alive somehow, and the only good news is that you're so weak and pathetic that the AI cannot be bothered and is off dealing with other enemy threats elsewhere. And if you just try and think about attacking it, well, you're gonna have a bad time. You need to be sneaky, you need to apply guerrilla tactics, manipulate its systems, and basically try to take it down without trying to make it look like you're trying to take it down. If that sounds kind of twisted, that's because it's from the studio Arsene Games, who brought us the recent Heart of the Machine, which is one of my favorite strategy games that blends 4X and XCOM tactics. But before they made that game, AI War 1 and 2 were busy messing with people's brains. And yes, it's got quite a steep learning curve. Like, it's one of those let's place a wiki link in the UI kind of learning curve, but the results are worth it thanks to its great replayability and just overall unique gameplay. And yeah, an AI that would make Grok seem completely sane, AI War 2 is definitely a hidden gem worth checking out. Then next up on the list is Void War, which yes, does seem very similar, almost a carbon copy to FTL Faster Than Light, one of the best turn-based roguelike space games of all time. However, this FTL meets Warhammer game does add quite a bit of changes to help make it stand out, and hey, it's been a while since FTL came out, so it's cool seeing something fresh. In this dark gothic space roguelite, you command an ancient starship on a desperate campaign towards the heart of a dying empire. You must jump through procedurally generated sectors, face off against cultists, space pirates, and imperial legions, all while managing your ship's weapons, modules, and crew. As you play, you'll recruit crew from different factions, give them some badass war gear and psychic powers, and also take on some brutal boarding factions, as you'll be able to send squads into the enemy hell, just wreck them down with intense powers, and plus customizing them with all different weapons, armor, and gear is a nice little touch as well. Plus the game lets you select a commander that each come with their own different skill sets, as well as a bunch of customization options for your ship. So yeah, I'd say FTL is still my #1 game like this, and I know people will say, but Marco, come on, just play the multiverse mod. But yeah, if you want something a little different, something oozing with Warhammer 40k vibes, then Void War might just be for you. Then coming up next on the list is Nexus 5X, a pretty cool space 4X game, not to be confused with one of the best Android phones ever made. In the game, you take command of an interstellar empire, exploring systems, building up planets, researching technologies, and squaring off against rival factions for galactic dominance. The game comes with matches that wrap up in about an hour or two, which is great if you love your grand strategies but don't really have the time. The factions are also pretty cool, quite unique, each with different playstyles and leader perks. It also comes with an edict system that gives you special abilities during each turn, as well as this council voting mechanic that adds some political spice on top of everything instead of just expanding and fighting. So if you do like 4X gaming and those games that play a bit like a board game, well then Nexus 5X is definitely a title worth checking out. Then coming up next on the list is Star Trek Resurgence, for all my Trekkies out there who just want to live out their own TV show-like experience. It's very much a Telltale-like game. You know, those ones where you get to choose your own adventure kind of thing. It's very narrative driven, but it also nails the vibe of the classic Star Trek The Next Generation era of storytelling. It's very heavy on dialogue, moral dilemmas, and exploration rather than non-stop shooting, pow-powing all over the place. The game is set after the events of Nemesis, where you assume dual roles of a first officer and an ensign aboard the science vessel USS Resolute. You'll engage in diplomatic crises, make tough moral choices, pilot shuttles, and try use your tricorder to scan anomalies and fight phaser skirmishes. And on top of that, you'll be doing this while trying to build relationships and navigate political tensions between alien species. It's pretty neat because that dual protagonist structure lets you switch between high-level commands and hands-on gameplay, gives some variety to it, and overall the voice acting and scripting are probably one of the best parts. Sure, it can be a letdown in some parts like the puzzles, but this is one of those games that gives that authentic Star Trek experience. And if that sounds like your kind of jam, then Star Trek Resurgence might be the game for you. Then coming up next on the list is Dust Fleet, a homeworld type game for fans who are disappointed with the third one. This 4X meets real-time strategy, drops you into the 24th century, where humans are just so super hungry because all the McDonald's closed down in this area. But in this game, you are the commander of an elite fleet of United Earth nations who is sent into the Dust Zone to investigate, restore supply routes, and fight for survival. The game unfolds via a star map strategic layer, where you'll be securing nodes, harvesting resources, and then building your fleet and stations, plunging into real-time fleet battles in full 3D. What's cool though is that the game comes with a detailed ship designer too, so you'll get to customize things like the weapons, the hull, the modules, things like that. Unfortunately though, it is still rough around the edges, but at least the dev is still churning out updates, which is always great to see. So even though it's got mixed reviews on Steam, if you are a 4X fanboy and love some real-time strategy thrown into the mix, Dust Fleet is worth checking out. Then coming up next on the list is Astronomics, which is a bit like the game Astroneer, just not quite there yet. It's not as polished, but this asteroid automation game still comes with a lot of charm that you'd find in games like Astroneer, but it's still in early access, so it's still a bit rough. In this indie space mining adventure, you play as a contractor working for the Megacorp Cube Corporation, stationed deep in the asteroid belt. You'll pilot a shuttle and deploy bots and mining gear into passing asteroids, haul away resources, fending off pirate threats, and then slowly building enough wealth so that you can buy your one-way ticket back to Earth. The game blends top-down action, so you need to manually control your shuttle and the bots, and then it comes with strategy and automation, so you can build infrastructure, schedule worker bots, and then set up manufacturing back on your freighter. The asteroids themselves are procedurally generated, so each one comes with a new layout and challenge, and sure, it's more than just your asteroid miner kind of game, but it's no asteroid major either. So don't expect full-blown large-scale space combat, it's not one of those kind of games. So if you are hunting for a smaller scale space automation game, Astronomics is one to watch out for. Now it's time to go back in time for my next game, titled Emperor of the Fading Suns, with this enhanced edition. This upgraded version of the 1997 cult sci-fi 4X classic has you command one of 5 noble houses trying to gain control of a crumbling human empire. You'll be building cities on planets, managing fleets in space, getting very political with the church and guilds, exploring stargates and ancient relics, and then eventually go for the crown of the known worlds. There's a ton of strategy thrown into the game, like a combined strategy across land, sea, air, and space, letting you fight ground battles, space engagements, manage resources, diplomacy, and religion all in one game. The enhanced edition now also adds modern upgrades, so like smoother compatibility, bigger modding support, so like a map editor and custom units, as well as various quality of life fixes. And yeah, this might only appeal to a certain few. I mean, the UI and visuals are pretty old school to say the least, but hey, this is not what this list is all about. This might just be one of the best old school space empire sims out there. So yeah, Empire of the Fading Suns Enhanced might just be worth checking out. Then next on the list is Flight of Nova, which is this flight simulator set on the Norren star system. Here you'll need to pilot various spacecraft in transport and search missions, navigating realistic aerodynamics and orbital physics, and I'm not joking around where that gets pretty tricky. The game comes with 2 modes, this map operations, so like mission-based regions, as well as rogue mode, which comes with procedurally generated global missions. In these missions, you're pretty much a glorified Amazon delivery van, but under the surface, it's this intense flight sim that would challenge any veteran out there. It comes with hot-ass and track IR setup support. However, trust me, it is not easy, some even calling it the Souls-like of flying sims. This is probably because it simulates aerodynamics based on real-world atmospheric density and orbital physics, including full planet scale, drag, air friction, and realistic gravitation. Sure, it's still in early access, but if space cargo hauling flight sim with realistic space flight and orbital mechanics sounds like your cup of tea, well then Flight of Nova might be the game for you. Then coming up next on the list is Space Run, which even though it came out in 2014, it's a tower defense game we didn't know we needed. Space Run throws you into the role of a space transporter in the year 2525, hauling valuable cargo across dangerous lanes while under the fire from pirates, asteroid fields, and rival carriers. You'll start each mission in this flat hex-tiled ship platform and immediately begin placing modules and weapons as the craft moves across the route. So yes, you'll be like building this ship on the fly to defend cargo and outrun the competition. And on the fly is no joke. Like, the biggest downfall I'd had is the lack of a pause button. So yeah, that naturally means tons of tension as well as a lot of satisfaction when you pull off some crazy maneuvers. Plus then you'll get to unlock new weapons, shields, thrusters and other modules with the reputation earned from earlier runs. So yes, it's a bit dated, so the graphics aren't as polished, but Space Run is a tight tower defense game that comes with some addictive gameplay and definitely a hidden gem for its time. Coming up next on the list is Reassembly, a space sandbox that feels like someone mixed Lego with astrophysics with a little bit of chaos thrown in for good measure. It's a bit like the game Nimbatus, a game I mentioned in my previous video of this series. You maybe want to go check that out. But in Reassembly, you start off commanding a tiny modular ship armed with just enough firepower to poke at asteroids and scrape by. But then the real fun begins when you start to realize you can completely rebuild your ship piece by piece. So maybe you want to make a super sleek fighter that just cruises by, or maybe this ridiculous fortress that comes with these massive cannons to take down anything in your way. The world is alive with factions, each building ships as crazy as your own. The more you explore, the more resources you gather, and the bigger and bolder your creations can become. The combat feels satisfying and a bit weighty, so like lasers slicing through hells, debris floating off into the void. It's pretty cool. Sure, Reassembly has got a learning curve and the visuals are a bit more geometric than cinematic, but the sheer creative freedom keeps you hooked, maybe even still today. Then coming up next on the list is Star Traders Frontiers. It came out in 2018, where this one's a sprawling space sim RPG that comes with a classic space opera vibe. It's also from the studio Trees Brothers, who brought us the recent tactical RPG called Cyberknights. Great game, by the way. But here you play as a ship captain carving out a life in a living galaxy where you'll be trading, exploring, pirating, smuggling, spying, or politicking your way to fortune, or maybe ruin. Every decision you make, from how you upgrade your ship to which faction you're gonna piss off, ripples across the map. It's a sandbox that rewards both ambition and paranoia. You'll spend your time managing crew loyalty, plotting hyperspace routes, upgrading your systems, and navigating tangled alliances between powerful houses. It comes with turn-based combat, both in ship battles and personal encounters. The crew battles are pretty easy, the ship-to-ship not so much, but both add tension, and the RPG-style progression lets you tailor your crew to any playstyle. And sure, it's got its issues and comes with quite a steep learning curve, but the depth and freedom here is pretty incredible. So while this game is a bit old, this gem might give you that true captain your own ship fantasy better than most big budget titles ever did. Coming up next on the list is Battlezone Combat Commander. This is a remastered version of the 1999 hybrid first-person real-time strategy Battlezone 2 Combat Commander. And why is it on this list? Well, besides being a super badass real-time strategy game, you can also just straight up go into first person as well. Like, you don't often see that in modern games, and it's quite a unique mechanic. The unlikely plot of the game is that US and Russia have become buddies, now join forces as the International Space Defense Force to help fight off an alien invasion. This will definitely appeal to fans who played the original versions, but hey, those wanting something different, this might still be a lot of fun. And because it's a remaster, the devs gave Battlezone a bit of polish. The models and textures look a bit better, and same goes with that sound that comes with a bit of clarity and crispness to it. Overall, it still has its issues, but to me, it still mixes up the genres pretty well. So if you were ever a fan of Battlezone, or maybe you just want to try out something different, then this game might just be for you. Then coming up next on the list is Evochron Legacy SE. This game drops you into a truly open world sandbox where nearly everything is up to you, from trading to exploring to mining to fighting to building, or maybe you just want to simply drift among the stars. You begin with a ship, a universe of waypoints and contracts, and a freedom to chart your own path, whether you want to mine asteroids, maybe fight in faction wars, maybe some trading of goods, or maybe cruising down onto those planetary surfaces. The game comes with a Newtonian style flight model, which is pretty cool, and it has some optional dampening so you don't have to fight your own ship all the time. So yeah, you'll be able to build stations and cities on planet surfaces, or maybe in space. It comes with some excellent flight mechanics and gameplay elements too, and yeah, that sense of personal progression in the game is always so satisfying. However, yes, it does have its downsides. The game is a bit complicated, like the tutorial is like an hour long, and the missions can be a bit confusing too. But hey, the dev is still pumping out updates, which is always good to see. And yeah, if you're looking for a massive sandbox space sim that feels a bit like Elite Dangerous, well then Evochron Legacy SE might just be the game for you. Next up on the list, do you hate AAA graphics? Do you love very confusing games that are almost impossible to understand? Well then you're going to love Aurora 4X. In this game, complexity is an understatement. Density is a mere whisper in your ear. This game has a universe built from numbers, spreadsheets, and imagination, where every mechanic from ship design to planetary development operates on layers of intricate simulation. This game reminds me a bit of Dwarf Fortress, where instead of chasing graphics or that cinematic flair, Aurora 4X builds on an entire procedurally generated galaxy teeming with life, politics, and logistics. You have an empire in motion that exists entirely within your data-driven command interface. Every element is customizable, from your economies, training officers, managing colonies, surveying planets, and even designing ships from the engine up. Now it is overwhelming at first glance, and definitely overwhelming the next 10 glances after that. So yes, most players will definitely bounce off the sheer density of it, but for the very few who click with its rhythm, it becomes something quite incredible, a strategy experience that feels alive. Aurora 4X might look like an Excel sheet and play like one too, but no spreadsheet ever made you feel like you just guided humanity into the stars. And then last but not least, I've got Space Pirates and Zombies, both 1 and 2, probably two of the most underrated games for their time. Released in 2021 with the sequel coming out in 2017, the first game is a top-down 2D space shooter blended with strategy and RPG mechanics. You'll be piloting a fleet of customizable ships, scavenging for parts, trading, and fighting through a galaxy torn between factions, as well as being overrun by a mysterious zombie nanotech threat. It's fast, chaotic, and surprisingly deep, balancing twitchy combat with resource management and tech progression. However, the sequel, even though it is similar, is also still very different. It comes in full 3D, turning the universe into a dynamic sandbox filled with rival AI captains, shifting alliances, and modular mothership construction. So now instead of linear missions, you'll be navigating politics, trade, and large-scale fleet battles in a persistent world that evolves whether you're there or not. It's a bit slower and more strategic than the first, focusing on systems and simulation rather than pure arcade combat. Now I'm not going to argue which one was better, the first or the second. They are both very different games, but I think we can all agree that a third would just be amazing. Sure, Space Pirates and Zombies never really got the fanfare of major space games, yet it still had this genuine tucked away experience that was always fun to pick up. And now before I finish this video, I thought I'd include some honorable mentions for games that didn't quite make the list but are still worth checking out. So first up is Deep Space Battle Simulator, which throws you into these massive multiplayer space battles where you have to control and manage your own capital ships. This means that you can pilot, manage power systems, or maybe jump into a fighter to infiltrate enemy vessels. However, the only downside, well, no one really plays it anymore. It's only fun if you have a group of mates that want to play it too, but yeah, to me it has so much potential. It just couldn't really get off the ground, but still worth looking into. Then coming up next on the list is Carrier Command 2, which doesn't really quite make the list because it's not really set in space. It's just on another planet. This is a tactical real-time strategy that puts you in command of a futuristic aircraft carrier where every radar ping, missile strike, and drone launch is under your control. Here you'll be managing logistics, you'll be piloting vehicles, which is pretty cool, and coordinating air and sea assaults across an open archipelago. Carrier Command 2 is just this little hidden gem that if you love any combination of real-time strategy, arcade-style dogfighting games, and some military role-playing thrown into the mix, you're gonna really enjoy it. And then last up we have Skin Deep, which is this weird yet amazing immersive sim published by Annapurna Interactive, which if you've seen my weirdly unique games list, you'll know why I love this publisher so much. It's also from the studio who bought us Quadrilateral Cowboy, so yeah, these devs love bizarre games. In Skin Deep, you'll play as Nina Pasadena, an insurance commando thawed from cryosleep mid-space pirate raid. In the game, you'll be sneaking around, sabotaging things, and improvising your situations through chaotic starships that are all filled with these cube-headed cat crews and slapstick stealth tools like banana peels, pepper bags, and even floating skulls. It's a bit like Deus Ex meets Saturday morning cartoons. It's short, but it has just so much imagination, and highly recommended if you want a stealth game that won't play like anything else you've played before. And so that wraps up my video. Thank you very much for watching. If you have a hidden gem that you'd like others to know about, please put it in the comment section below, and maybe leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and of course subscribe if you want to find more videos like this. Other than that, it's Marco here from Easily Distracted Games, and as always, don't stop gaming.